Needlessly adjust the microphone. Hi, everybody. I am your KevinlyFather. This is the WACKO in Waco. President Trump is putting on his first official campaign rally, whatever that means.
Thank you very much, everybody.
In Waco, Texas. Let me turn them up.
This song tells you a lot because it's #1 in every single category.
It's not #1 in every single category. That's ridiculous. Let's go to another feed. This feed is way too quiet for you. Cover your ears. I'm going to blast it here. Let's see what this one is. Nope. Again, too soft. How about this? We might just go to OAN here. Let's see. Right side.
Great to be back in this beautiful and
There's an echo there, but that's them, not me. So we'll watch this one for a while. This is the RSBN feed.
incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots.
Okay, I can't take this. I can't take the echo on the RSBN feed. Let's see what else we can find here. NTD, there we go. They actually usually have a pretty good feed.
Before we begin, I also want to express...
Oh, the echo's just there. The echo's in the stadium. It's not some kind of problem with the audio. It's just Trump. God, imagine having to hear Trump twice. Hi, Colton. Hi, Marcy. Hi, Jessica. Hey, Chris.
In Alabama, who's been touched by the devastating tornadoes today. A lot of people were killed. We love you all for 7 years. You know that we've all been fighting together. Those people were fighting with us too, no longer with us, devastated. But for 7 years, you and I have been taking on the corrupt, rotten, and sinister forces trying to destroy America, and they've been trying to destroy it. They're not going to do it, but they do get closer and closer with rigged elections. They get closer and closer. We've been the ones in this fight.
Pretty sure the tornadoes were in Mississippi. Did he just say Alabama? Let's go back. Were there tornadoes in Alabama? Because I'm pretty sure people got hammered, like 26 dead. Hold on. Let's see. Missing Indiana teen found safe. Deadly storms in the south. 26 dead. Tornado storms were southwest. Okay, so a little bit in Alabama too. One town is gone. Where is it? At least 26 people killed. Powerful storm. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Devastating tornadoes in Mississippi. Joe Biden prayed for those who've lost loved ones. Devastating tornadoes in Mississippi. And for those whose loved ones are missing. Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves has issued a state of emergency in all county. But Alabama. So, good job.
Devastated.
That's what he said.
In Alabama.
Oh, Mississippi and Alabama.
Send our prayers to everyone in Mississippi and Alabama.
Okay, so
who's been
likely in
touched
Alabama.
by the devastating tornadoes today.
Today.
People were killed. We love you all for 7 years. You know that we've all been fighting together. Those people were fighting with us too, no longer with us, devastated. But for 7 years, you and I have been taking on the corrupt, rotten, and sinister forces trying to destroy America, and they've been trying to destroy it. They're not going to do it. But they do get closer and closer with rigged elections. They get closer.
No one's trying to destroy America in America.
We've been the ones in this fight standing up to the globalists and standing up to the Marxists and communists. That's what they are.
He's getting
We
louder.
don't even talk about the socialists anymore. The train left that station a long time ago.
Okay.
Standing up to the warmongers, stupid warmongers, and the neocons and the rhinos, the big money special interests, the open.
Again, the audio is on that end. All that echo, that's the feed that we're getting. And it's not even, it's all the stations. So it's coming from the audio equipment at Waco.
Border fanatics, crazy people.
Oh, we hate fanatics.
Standing up to the fake news media. Look at all
We hate fanatics. We love President Trump. He's our savior, chosen by God.
of them there.
But we hate fanatics. Specifically the athletic wear company, Fanatics, who are going to start making the NHL jerseys once Adidas stops making them in 2025. So come on. We hate that. We love Adidas. Adidas, if you're listening, I'm open for sponsorship. I just got a pair of Adidas today. The cheapest pair on Amazon, because that's how I roll.
It's a big group,
I'll pull up Newsmax.
but they don't want to tell the truth. That's why most of them are going down the tubes. You look at what's happening with media, they're going down the tubes because they don't want to tell the truth.
Are they?
They don't want to talk about what's happening.
The people on TV, the boob tube, are going down the tube. Oh.
With the laptop from hell, they don't want to talk about those things, and that's what's happening to them. Between our borders, our elections, and the weaponization of law enforcement.
Yeah, Newsmax is much better. Let's do this.
Republic, that's what we have become.
We're going to pause that. Well, Banana Republic. Let's go to Newsmax here on YouTube, because I think they usually have a YouTube feed going, and we might be able to back it up. Newsmax, and makes Newsmax live. There we go. See if we can go back a little bit.
States, because
oh yeah, wow. Yeah, we don't want that. Nope.
Back in the White House, their reign will,
okay.
But they failed. They've only made.
Okay, buy some gold.
That's a big group, but they don't want to tell the truth. That's why most of them are going down the tubes. You look at what's happening with media, they're going down the tubes because they don't want to tell the truth. They don't want to talk about what's happening with the laptop from hell. They don't want to talk about those things, and that's what's happening to them. But the vultures and the sellouts who got rich, bleeding America dry. Our opponents have done everything they can to crush our spirit and to break our will. But they've failed. They've only made us stronger.
Oh, yeah. So you're Obi-Wan?
And 2024 is the final battle. That's going to be the big one.
Is it? That's
you
it?
put
Then
me
our country's
back
over?
in the White House. Their reign will be
the final battle, the final solution.
over, and America will be a free nation once again.
How is it not?
Our enemies.
I mean, apart from trying to install a dryer outlet in my garage, I'm pretty much free to do anything I want.
They're desperate to stop us.
If I wanted to, I could sleep with a porn star, pay her off in order to win an election, have my lawyer go to jail because of it, and skate away.
Because they know that we are the only ones.
That's freedom.
Who can stop them? They know that. You know, there's never been a movement like this in the history of our country, probably in the history of almost every country. MAGA, Make America Great Again, America First, call whatever you want. But I will
Idiocy?
tell you, there's never been in history, look at this crowd, as far as the eye can see. We flew over. It was a beautiful sight. As far as the
His eye can't see very hard.
eye can see. And I did tell your great Lieutenant Governor, I said, you know, Dan, let's not do one of those 50-50 areas or an area where we're a little behind. Let's go right into the heart of it. Come on, let's go. Let's go where we were.
Yeah, there really isn't, I don't think, any significance to it being in Waco almost 30 years after the Branch Davidian problem. The Lieutenant Governor of Texas has already said, I'm the one who decided to have it in Waco.
Close to 100%, right?
Which just shows complete deafness. You know, read the state.
That's what we did. But as far as the eye can see, the abuses of power that we're currently witnessing at all levels of government will go down as among the most shameful, corrupt, and depraved chapters in all of American history. It's happening right before your eyes. But we're going to end up winning. The Biden regime.
Because you said you were going to win last time, and if you didn't win, you were going to leave the country forever. Because anybody could beat the worst candidate in history running from his basement. Remember that?
Weaponization of law enforcement against their political opponent is something straight out of the Stalinist Russian horror show.
No, Stalin wouldn't have had special counsels.
And you know, we go Stalinist Russia. That's what it was. This was where it seems to have begun from the standpoint of us watching it in semi-modern day history. You go back to communist China or look at a third world.
You don't have to go back to communist China. We have a present-day communist China.
Banana Republic. That's what we've become. Between our
Banana
borders,
Republic.
our elections, and the
Nana.
weaponization of law enforcement. Banana Republic. That's what we have become.
Okay.
Let there be no doubt the injustices being done, not only to me, but to dozens across our country will not.
Dozens across our country. Dozens of us. Dozens! He's a never nude.
Stand, or we're not going to stand for it. When this election is over, I will be the President of the United States.
He will not. He will split the Republican vote with Ron DeSantis.
You will be vindicated and proud, and the thugs and criminals who are corrupting our justice system will be defeated, discredited, and totally disgraced. That's what's happening.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
Is it?
From the beginning, it's been one witch hunt and phony investigation after another.
Oh, here, get ready to drink something. Drinking word is hoax.
And you know, because of it...
Oh my God! Oh my God! I was gonna go with witch hunt as the drinking word. Look at all those signs. I should have... You know what? I can change it. I don't have any rules. This is a free country. And if I want it to be bitch hunt, I'm going to make it bitch hunt. Boom. There we go. There's a drinking word, everybody. Whenever you see a sign that says witch hunt, go ahead and take a drink.
Country never talks about greatness anymore. You look at what China does. They go all over the world. They spend money. They take over governments. They do a lot of things. And we're always looking. We got crazy people like...
Right, so we should stop spending money all over the world? Is that what you're saying? Or we should spend more, like China?
Like Shifty Schiff.
Yeah, Shifty Schiff.
And...
Okay, we're already going on a tangent here, folks.
Hillary and all of these people. These
Lock
people...
her up.
They don't want to talk about greatness for our country. All they want to do is investigate everybody, but they are the ones that are really under investigation. I also want to thank the Republican Congress.
They are the ones that are really under investigation. All they want to do is investigate me for sleeping with a porn star, but they are the ones who are really under investigation for sleeping with a porn star.
Because, you know, people can be critical, but they are working so hard. Jim Jordan, James Comer, he's become a great star. These are great people, and putting themselves at risk because they take a lot of abuse, but they're doing something that we haven't seen in Washington in 25 years. So I want to just thank those two and many people that are working.
Why 25 years? What happened in 1998?
With them. In my case, every piece of my personal life, financial life, business life, and public life has been turned upside down and dissected like no one in the history of our country, Marjorie, I think we can say, right? I don't think we can find anybody.
Well, I mean, there's been plenty of people who've been investigated, but okay.
They even got
dozens across the country.
Got the Supreme Court of the United States to give them my tax returns, something that was never supposed to happen.
No, that's every president since Nixon has done that. That's supposed to happen.
Legal scholars say that's a shocker.
Nobody says that.
And everything they wanted about me, they got every single thing they wanted about me. The Supreme Court said, oh, give it to the prosecutors. That's okay. He only appointed...
Right, it's evidence in crime. So that's discovery. That's how that happens. If I have a problem with the IRS, they get my taxes. If the DOJ comes after me, they can get my taxes. It's fine. That's how crime works.
Appointed 3 of them. Not a lot of, you know, we don't want loyalty. We want what's right. But
loyalty is also important, right?
Sort of strange, isn't it?
What?
Give them everything they want. They actually came down with run ruling that no.
Run ruling?
No, you can't do that to presidents, but to Trump you can. To Trump you can.
No such ruling.
And we've been a special administration, and we have special people. There's nobody like the people we have. They're the smartest. They're the best. These are the most. Look at all the money they're sitting over here. They're all over because, and you know what?
Look at all the money.
They made that money the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
You're right. Front Row Joe. The Front Row Joes will never forget him. And my friends from North Carolina, who are unbelievable, beautiful, incredible women.
I think it's the blonde ladies who follow Trump around. I think that's what he's talking about.
Incredible people. They travel all over. What is this, like number 93, I think, right? Number 93. Oh,
Did they make a movie about Brady?
Oh, no, actually more. But we appreciate it. 101 Front Row Joe, 101, all the Joes. But the Supreme Court is afraid, just like Republicans are afraid, to do something about what has happened.
Yeah, the Supreme Court, 6 of 9 whom are conservatives, of whom are then anyway.
And they have to fight.
They're afraid. They're so afraid.
The Supreme Court
has to fight.
Didn't have the courage to right the wrong of the 2020 election. They
all 60 times.
Knew what was going on. Tax returns were always considered sacred. Lawyers, in their own way, if you can believe this, were considered sacred. Today, lawyers
are not considered sacred. Nobody is above the law.
Go before grand juries all over this place if they happen to be lawyers
all over
representing
this place we call the United States.
Republicans, and they treat lawyers like they're criminals. It used to be if you had a lawyer, the lawyer was somebody that was very much considered from the standpoint of what we're talking about, above reproach. Now they get thrown.
Yeah, no, lawyers are never above reproach. Lawyers are always subject to the rules of the bar. That's how you can get disbarred.
Thrown in with everybody else, and it's a very unusual situation that's taking place. And again, legal scholars can't believe what they're witnessing.
Okay, well, you should have been a lawyer then, so that you were somehow above the law and beyond reproach.
And yet, after going over 11 million pages of documents, I built a great company. They've got nothing.
What? They've convicted the company of 9 counts out of, 9. Guilty on all charges. That's the great company that you built.
They've got nothing. Think of it.
They've got 9 convictions.
11 million pages.
Uh-huh.
And my tax returns on top of it, and they're a big return. It probably makes me the most innocent man in the history of our country. Friends of mine say that.
I don't think so.
Very successful friend of mine said, you know what? President, on page 3, they got me. Got 11 million pages we gave over to various groups, including Congress.
What?
The new weapon being used by out-of-control, unhinged Democrats to cheat on election is criminally investigating a candidate, bad publicity and all. You get bad publicity. It's the craziest thing. I got bad publicity and my poll numbers have gone through the roof. Would you explain this to me? Explain that to me, Dan.
His poll numbers haven't gone through the roof. Depending on which poll you look at. But he did raise $1.5 million after falsely claiming that he was going to be arrested on Tuesday.
Mr. Congressman, you got to explain it to me because nobody else has ever heard of it. But you know what? It gets so much publicity that the case actually gets adjudicated in the press.
Oh my God, do foxes smile? I have to get one.
Yes.
Can you imagine how cute that would be? I on Twitter, I have Fox an Hour. You can, on Twitter, there's like Badgers an hour, Fox an hour, Quokkas an hour. You got to sign up for all the animals an hour.
And people see it's bullshit, and they go and they say...
Whoa, I am so sorry, everybody. I did not know he was going to fucking swear.
But it takes place by the Department of Injustice and their local henchmen at the AG and DA's offices throughout the country. They use the local offices, like in New York City, like in Atlanta, like in Chicago.
The federal offices, sure, yeah.
In Los Angeles.
Those are Department of Justice offices, sure, yes.
They make lies.
So if they need to make a fax, and they'll go in there and they'll say, hey, can you guys crank up the fax for me? We need to send a fax.
Lives miserable, destroy their families and friends, even though they know these people are innocent. In many cases, they're patriots. They're not guilty of anything, and yet they have to go through hell. And if you're running for office, even Dan, but I don't think they'd ever go after him. But we have some great congressmen that probably they wouldn't go after because they're too clean. They're the cleanest people I've ever met. They come from Texas.
Okay, but I thought you were the most innocent man on the...
They have to be clean.
Too clean.
But let's say they're not that well known. They're doing a good job, and an investigation has started into one of these many great people. They're going to lose their race. They're going to lose their race. And they do it all the time. They're using investigations now instead of, because it's harder for them to stuff the ballot boxes, of which they stuff plenty. You know, Marjorie is here, Truth to Vote. And they found at least 5 million instances on tape. And the courts did.
No, they didn't. It's up to 5 million now. It was 5,000. It is now a lot more. 5 million.
You want to even look at it. The District Attorney of New York, under the auspices and direction of the Department.
For a second there, I didn't realize he was reading from the teleprompter. But yeah, no, he doesn't say auspices. He never says that.
Of Injustice in Washington, D.C.
See, he paused there so he could add in the injustice.
Was investigating me for something that is not a crime, not a misdemeanor, not an affair.
Okay. No, it's an affair. I mean, if you sleep with somebody, that's an affair. Who isn't your wife?
I never liked Horseface. It's just not.
Stormy Daniels,
terrible.
Horseface.
That wouldn't be the one. There is no one. We have a great first lady.
Show us the peen. Let us know if it's a mushroom.
Who people really do love. And she's done an incredible job. Not an error, not anything. They have nothing. And yet it went all.
Not an error? Oh, no, she's saying it's not an affair, it's not an error. Okay. They have everything because Michael Cohen went to prison for it. There's a crime.
On and on and on and continues to. He stacked his office with D.C. operatives, a man named Matthew Colangelo, one of the top people in the Department of Justice, was moved into the Manhattan DA's office to make sure that Trump got taken care of. They couldn't get it done in Washington, so they said, let's use local offices. So they have Colangelo, the top, just about the top, one of the top people.
He's near the top. He can see the top.
Attorney General Garland.
If he looks
up. And they sent him into New York to be in the Manhattan office. Can you imagine that? In order to prosecute and do everything he could to get rid of Trump. Because, you know, our poll numbers are through the roof. I guess you've seen that. They don't like it. They don't like it. We won in 2016. We won by much more in 2020, but it was rigged.
Didn't.
You know, in 2020.
Lost in 2020.
I got the most votes
of a sitting president. Yeah, we know.
Any sitting president in history.
Right, but so many more people hated you that Biden won the country by 4 points. Sorry.
We won the most counties in the United States in the history of our country.
I don't even know if that's true, but it doesn't matter. That's not how the Electoral College works. There's no college. There's no Electoral College for counties.
Many, many, many times more than Biden won, and yet they said we lost.
Yeah, because counties don't vote, idiot.
So what we have to do is swamp them this time. The one thing that really does prevail, and I heard all of your different speakers talking about what to do. We used to like to hold out on Tuesday till Tuesday, and everybody goes in and votes, and then in some cases you go.
Till Tuesday. Voices carry, don't shout. Keep it down now. Everyone, voices carry.
Oh, and a vote, and the machines are all broken. That's what they do to you. That's what they did to some very special people. You know that.
Who?
We had a certain state. Everybody was so proud. Republicans liked to vote on Tuesday. They went in, and the machines, a lot of the machines were broken.
Talking about Arizona.
So they had to stand in line for 10 hours and more, and actually many of them never got to vote. That's what they do. They always seem to find an answer. It's what they're good at. They're good at stealing, lying. They're good at keeping borders open.
I kind of tuned out. Is he talking about his family?
Open. They're good at no voter ID.
Remember, we watched shortly after Trump left office. We watched Hannity, and Hannity asked Trump if he was going to go to the border, and Trump said yes. Still hasn't gone to the border.
Why don't they want voter ID? Think of it. You know, 80.
They do. No, in the very first bill that the last Congress passed, the democratically controlled Congress, Democrat with a small d or a big D, I don't know. The very first bill included voter ID. No problem. If a state wants to have voter ID, according to the Democrats, that's not a problem. As long as is the case in many states already, you can sign an affidavit if your voter ID fails that day. Oh, geez, my driver's license is expired? This has happened to everybody. Not everybody, but to me anyway. Not when I'm voting, but I realized, oh, geez, my license is expired. Oh, hey, yeah, let's go to Mexico. Hold on, I'll get my passport. Oh, damn it, it's expired. I didn't know that. Now I can't vote with it. As long as you fill out the affidavit, this is really me, I attest to this, your vote will count. They will verify your signature or whatever they have on file for you when you signed up to vote, and your vote will count. We do not want to disenfranchise people in this country from voting. That's how this country works. Anyway, yeah, the Democrats have no problem with voter ID.
88% of the Democrats want voter ID, but not the leadership. There's only one reason you don't want voter ID.
The leadership does. The Republicans in the Senate blocked the bill.
Because you want to cheat on elections.
No.
And the Republicans cannot take it any longer. They have to get tougher, but they...
Don't need, and remember, I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent, small I.
They cannot take it. These Washington Republicans like Mitch McConnell, who's the absolute worst.
Oh, boy. You know, the one in the hospital right now. The worst. Is he still in the hospital, anybody? Is he still, or is he out of the hospital? I hope he's out of the hospital. Hope he's okay.
They've got to get tougher. They got to get like Marjorie Taylor Greene. You happen to be here.
Got to be tough like Marjorie. Got to have multiple affairs like Marjorie's, but it's not an affair, and it's not an error.
We'll fight like hell for you, I tell you. Where's Matt Gaetz? I heard his speech. Oh, Matt, look at Matt.
I missed Matt's speech. Sorry.
Boy.
You're
He
right.
laid it out there, didn't he?
I got to close the door. There's bugs in here.
I said, I was watching. I said, maybe he's got a little too far. And then I realized, no, he hasn't. That's really, he's given some very good facts, and
McConnell's
people like
out?
it. That's why
Good
he
news.
wins his district by a tremendous amount. Well, they weaponized him, too. They weaponized him. They made up phony charges, and he went through 2 years of hell, and he turned out to be a brave guy. It is a good test. You have to say that, Matt. It's a hell of a test. We learn about people. It's almost like going to school, taking a test. He got an A+ on that test. I mean it, Matt. They took the word of a proven liar, a convicted felon, and a disbarred lawyer, all the same person, believe it or not. You wouldn't think that could go to one person. It would be 3, 4, 5. Over some of the most respected and prestigious people in the country and in New York City, some of the most respected lawyers.
It wasn't one person's word against another's word. It was just that the DA decided that the word of the bad guy was not good enough, that it would fail in trial. That's why the whole thing was shut down.
Testifying against. They looked at all of these pages of documents. They went back to old cases that were summarily rejected by many prosecutors, highly respected.
Is he talking about Matt Gaetz again, or is he now back to himself?
Prosecutors, Democrat prosecutors all, before including, and I will tell you, the existing prosecutor who said, this case doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. All of a sudden, pressure got put on him by Washington, D.C., and the case that didn't make sense, he said, let's go get Trump. They even had numerous prosecutors who resigned because I was being treated unfairly. That made me feel so good when I heard that. Think of it. People actually in a Democrat area, Democrat office, they resigned. Did you know that? They resigned. A lot of them resigned the office because they said, you can't treat a man like this. He didn't do anything wrong. But the two lead prosecutors, absolute human scum, one a Hillary Clinton lawyer from a Hillary Clinton law firm. Do you believe that? How about a guy who represents Hillary Clinton? He's in a law firm that represents Democrat. It's headed up by Chuck Schumer's brother, this law firm, Robert Schumer. Think of this. Now, think of this. And he calls up the prosecutor. Think of this. He calls up the district attorney of Manhattan. He said, I'd like to come and work for free. I'm going to leave. I represent Hillary Clinton. We represent the DNC, the Democrat Party. I don't even know if you know this. And he said, I want to work for free. He's a bad guy, known as a bad guy. I want to work for free to get Trump. And they bring him into the office. He becomes the head prosecutor. Then you had another one similar. And then he goes out. And
there would be no motivation for him to work for free because lead prosecutors get paid.
He quits because the head of the office, who I respected, but then he went bad because he succumbed to pressure. But the head of
He succumbed to pressure.
the office said, no, we can't get him on anything. He didn't do anything wrong. Changed his mind a little bit on a couple of little things, but that's okay. But he was under a great deal of pressure. Now I understand that he's made up his mind and he agrees with his original feeling that we did nothing wrong. But how about this? A guy leaves private practice representing Hillary Clinton, goes for no salary, no anything. He goes into the district attorney's office to prosecute Donald Trump. He doesn't get what he wants, so he leaves the office in a huff.
Did he not get paid? Is that what you're saying? And who is this?
And he writes a book, and the book is published during the case ongoing. And I will say this, he has been absolutely killed by the media, even the fake news media back there.
There was a gentleman who did work in the district attorney's office and did get paid and wrote a book, but he has a name, Mr. Trump. Do you remember that name? Because you have the best mind in the world.
There are a lot of them I see.
Yeah.
And they say that in itself is enough reason that should have stopped a long time ago. So he goes in and he writes a book, and he makes money off a book telling you what went on with the grand jury. What do you think of that, Mr. Lieutenant Governor? You think that's fair? Sounds like a fair system. It's a rigged system. Like we had a rigged election, we have a rigged system. And you almost have to say, what has our country come to? Review after review, even by the biggest, greatest legal scholars, some of whom don't like Trump. Like Alan Dershowitz said, I don't want to vote for Trump. I never voted for Trump. I don't believe him. Actually, I think he does, but he does that to give himself a little credibility with his friends, the Democrats. I think he votes for me, personally. But he even said, in 60 years of practicing law, it's the worst abuse I've ever witnessed. I've never seen anything like it. There's no case here, but I've never. That's Alan Dershowitz, a Democrat.
Yeah, he just published a book about the case against Trump.
Greg Jarrett, who's a great scholar, great guy. He came out with reports that were so damning, it was so horrible to actually read it. But this is really prosecutorial misconduct. That's what it's called. The innocence of people makes no difference whatsoever to the.
He literally hasn't been indicted on anything yet.
These radical left maniacs. It is worse, actually, in my opinion. Hard to believe anything could be worse than this, but I think it's worse than ballot stuffing or media manipulation by the FBI working together with Twitter, Facebook, and the rest.
Under
Remember
your
when
administration.
That came out 4 weeks ago, that the FBI was working to make sure that nothing bad is said about Biden, but as much bad as possible is said about Trump. And you know, that had more of an impact even than Truth to Vote with the ballot stuffing, where they caught ballots being stuffed on tape, all live on tape. So we have to stop them from cheating
live,
elections.
On tape. That's two different things, by the way. Live is live. On tape is on tape. After it's happened, that's anyway.
Because if we don't win this next election, 2024, I truly believe our country is doomed. I think it's doomed.
Oh, that's too bad.
Because
we just lost the last election. Remember? You, me. We did it. We lost it. And yet country's still here. Remember? The suburbs, as I understand it, the suburbs are gone. Remember? And remember when Biden took over and Antifa burned down the suburbs? Do you guys remember that? So the suburbs are gone. Other than that, the country's still pretty much intact.
Misconduct.
Oh, and then the stock market closed down. You guys remember that? Stock market had the worst, and then it closed down. So now there's no more stock market. Companies, 401k plans. It's all gone.
Is their new tool, and they are willing to use it at levels never seen before in our country. We've had it, but we've never had it like this. We must stop them, and we must not allow them to go through another election where they have yet another tool in their toolkit. Remember everything I've endured, all of the hits, all of the attacks, all of the assaults and pain of my loved ones. My loved ones have suffered far more than I have.
Oh, God, you can say that again.
You know, with me, it's almost.
They have to live with you, buddy.
It's become like I go through Russia, phony deal. Impeachment hoax number 1, phony deal.
You can still have a drink.
Impeachment hoax number 2, phony
hoax
deal.
Is still.
The Mueller witch hunt, phony
witch
deal.
Hunt. There you go. Drink up.
It's determination after 2.5 years. No collusion. There was no collusion with Russia. I could have told them that very easily. But they knew that because they had the laptop, and the collusion was with Biden and Hillary Clinton, who worked with them on the dossier paid for by Russia. But they don't do anything about it.
Russia did not pay for the dossier.
So
the Free Beacon and then the Hillary campaign paid for the dossier. Russia did not pay for the dossier.
I hear that, and you get a little bit hardened to it. You get a little bit immune, but they do tremendously big damage to great people, your family members and your friends and your associates and people that work for you and everybody.
Yeah.
But I never ran for office, if I never took on
Where is he going with this?
the deep state, so I never ran for office before. I mean, I ran one time and I won. It happened to be for the presidency, so that's good. I had a senator come in to see me once a few years ago. He said, "Sir, you've only done this for 1 year."
No, he ran in 2000 and lost.
I've been
Did one primary, just in California, that was it, and gave up.
running for office,
Got 15% of the vote.
sir, for 28 years. I ran for president a couple of times. I'm greatly experienced. I think you should listen to me. I said, well, I've only run one time. I've only been doing it for 1 year. And I
Twice.
became president of the United States.
Twice.
So
He
I
ran
want to
twice.
listen to you. I don't want to listen to
He ran with the Reform Party in 2000,
them.
along with David Duke, that he later claimed he had no idea who it was. His opponent, and if there's one thing Trump knows, it's how to insult his opponents, claimed that he didn't know who David Duke was in 2016.
But if I never did run for office, if I never took on the deep state, if I never stood up to China like no other president has ever stood up before, you didn't even know China was a problem until I came along. China was ripping us off, making $600 billion a year. $600 billion. And I did a little tariff hunting with them, and
I don't think he gets elected again. No, I don't see a scenario where Trump wins.
we took in
No, unless, of course, Biden dies and Kamala takes over.
hundreds of billions of dollars. I got the farmers of our country $28 billion because of the abuse
He didn't. Both those numbers are vastly inflated, and they were wrong to begin with.
that they had to take. The farmers love Trump. They keep saying,
That being said, the election is 2 years away. Anything can happen.
I think DeSantis can do okay with farmers. I don't think so. Based on polls, he's not doing okay with anything. Well, it's never good to
There have been polls where DeSantis is actually even higher than Trump.
try and destroy Social Security. It's never good to raise the minimum age to a very high level, which was not good.
What?
And to go against Medicare and try and obliterate it.
Oh, he's talking about Social Security and Medicare. Okay. So he's talking about raising the retirement age to a very high level.
These are a few of the good facts. It's also not good when you look statistically at how he did on COVID. Not well at all.
That's true.
He's in a very bad position. Or you look at how he does on crime. Not good. Not good. We have great Republican governors, actually, who did really
Including DeSantis. Yeah? Is that what you're about to say?
much better, who shut down their states for a very short time, or in some cases didn't shut them down at all. I look at
Okay.
South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee. I mean, we had some.
South Dakota was one, but Tennessee shut down parts. No, nobody actually shut down.
States that did a phenomenal job with no shutdowns.
South Dakota did a terrible job.
You know, I gave them the right not to shut down. Not everybody. You didn't have to shut down.
You can't give them that right. You don't have that power.
But in the case of Florida, they unfortunately did shut it down. They shut down the beaches. They shut down everything. So now that people are finding out about what happened, they're saying, man, he's dropping like a rock. And I wonder why. But, you know, you never like it when somebody comes, you say, I'm a loyalist. They say, sir, don't talk about that, sir, because people don't want to hear that, but I do, because I'm a loyal person. These people over here have been very loyal to me.
Okay.
Marjorie, Matt, your Lieutenant Governor Dan, many of them
Who's currently under investigation by the Department of Justice, yeah.
sitting
Under indictment, by the way.
right here. Congressman,
And has run twice during that time under indictment, and the good people of Texas have elected him again. Twice.
Congressman Wesley, that was a good speech you gave.
Ah,
But they've been very loyal. But I'm a loyalist. And when a man comes to me, tears in his eyes, he's at almost nothing in the polls. And he's fighting somebody that's at 42, and he's got almost $30 million in the bank. He's at almost nothing. He's got no cash. And I say, I can't give you an endorsement. There's no way you can win. You're dead. But he fought a little bit, like 150. He was certainly no Jim Jordan, that I can tell you. He fought a little bit, just a little bit, on impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, meaning on television, because I didn't know him very well. But I saw him, so he came and he really wanted. I said, you can't win, can you? How do you can win? Sir, if you endorse me, I'll win. Please. Please, sir, endorse me.
Sounds totally real.
And I said, all right, let's give it a shot, because honestly, the Secretary of Agriculture, Adam Putnam, good man, but I never met him. I didn't know him. So I don't feel guilty about it. You know, if you don't know somebody. I wish I knew him, actually. You want to know the truth, I wouldn't have done this. So what happened?
Sonny Perdue? Adam Putnam is Adam... Sonny Perdue was the Secretary of Agriculture. Is Adam Putnam the congressperson he's talking about that wanted his endorsement?
I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. And I endorsed
Who's
him, and
Ron?
he became like a rocket ship. Within one day, the race was over. He got the nomination. Then he had to run against a man that was the hottest in all of politics. He was the hottest person. Remember, it was him and...
Okay. Putnam had already... All right, he was... Adam Putnam served as the 11th Commissioner of Agriculture, not the Secretary of Agriculture. Commissioners of Agriculture are in states. So he was the commissioner in Florida for a number of years, not a Secretary of Agriculture. Wow, okay.
Stacey Abrams, the two hottest people in the Democrat Party. So we laugh at him now, but at the time, he was one of the hottest people in politics, Matt, right? He comes from a state that Matt's very familiar with. Now, he turned out to be a crackhead. But I did rallies for Ron that were massive rallies, and they were very successful.
We're talking about Ron DeSantis now.
So we got him the nomination. We then got him the election. He said, I don't think I can make it, because the other guy was really popular, believe it or not. He was going to be the next president of the United States. But that didn't work out too well. They caught him in a crack den. Of course, anything goes in politics today. He can maybe he's going to make a comeback. Who knows?
Irony?
But think how bad Florida would be. Remember one thing. Florida has been tremendously successful for many years, long before this guy became governor. Florida was tremendously successful under Rick Scott.
And then what about Chris?
Look, whether
Charlie
you like
Crist?
him or not, Charlie Crist, it was very successful. He was a Republican
Democrat.
at the time. But Florida's been successful for decades. In fact, probably as or more successful than it is now. But when a man, you get him elected, and there's no quid pro quo. Get rid of that word. Remember those words? Quid pro quo.
Multiple words, yeah.
With the perfect call I made with the Ukrainian president. But when
Wow, that is... We jumped all over the place there. Now we're talking about Zelensky.
A guy, so he gets the nomination because of you.
Oh,
he wins the election
back.
because of you.
Focus.
2 years later, the fake news is up there saying, will you run against the president? Will you run? And he says, I have no comment. I say, that's not supposed to happen. I have no comment. No. So I'm not a big fan, but I love, that's right, he's a disciple of Paul Ryan. He is actually a disciple. That's why he wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. But I think we're doing really well. I mean, we're up at levels. I don't know if they have them on the screen, but they might put them up on the screen. The polls, the last 4 or 5, actually the last month. Yeah. And put the other ones up, because you'll see some numbers that are incredible.
Oh, wow.
You'll see some numbers that are, we just had one today.
I don't know,
69 for Trump, and I think 18 or 19 for DeSanctimonious.
Yeah, he's spending a lot of time on DeSantis.
We were at 69 and one today. But if I never fought the Marxists and the lobbyists and the rhinos and the open border zealots, if I never fixed our military, and I rebuilt our entire military, we defeated ISIS. We took out al-Baghdadi. We took out Soleimani. We fixed our military and gave you the largest tax cut in the history of our country. We gave you the
That's a lie.
largest regulation cuts in the history of our country.
No one can be sure, but regulation cuts that led to things like trains exploding.
That's why our businesses were doing so well. Not now, unfortunately. And
okay, so no, it's not. They're not doing well now. Oh,
none of this persecution would have ever happened. In other words, if I didn't do all of that, I was leading this life. I didn't know what subpoena meant. Now,
because he's an idiot.
I'm one of the kings. I know. I can look at the color. I can tell you where that one came from. Oh, that's a nice. Now, if I didn't do all that stuff, or if I was...
He's talking about the color of the subpoena that's been served to him.
...doing badly in the polls, instead of the numbers we were at 69 and 59 to a very small number, it would, you know, they wouldn't be going after me.
Uh-huh.
When they go after me, they're going after you. I left behind a magnificent life, and I stepped up to fight for America because no one else would do it or would do it properly. Matt said it.
Yeah, Trump has been subpoenaed multiple times in his life. He has fought many, many lawsuits. Okay, get on with it.
Thank you. You know, they have the best seat in the House. A lot of people don't know. A lot of people have been hired from sitting back there. You know that? Those cameras are on them. They can't see what I'm doing. They can only see me from the back. I try and turn around.
Okay.
But they can see what powerful shoulders I have. But those cameras are on there for 2 hours. And every once in a while, a face will be so crazy, so good, so wild, that lots of good things happen for that person. So congratulations.
Okay.
See, they may have a better seat, but I'd rather have your seat.
Okay, go back there.
Our front row Joe's over here. Since that moment, all of the hatred, rage, and contempt the radical left has for you, your values, and this nation has been very much directed on me. And again, they want you. They're not getting you. They're not even getting close. It's been a stream of lies and abuse that few people could ever imagine.
It's not like if Trump didn't exist, the Department of Justice would be investigating all 1,500 people that were there.
Few people can imagine. I had a man come up to me, a very famous man. Almost everybody probably would have heard of him, a businessman.
Okay.
I saw him about 2 weeks ago. He said to me, could I ask you, I'd never even liked him very much, to be honest, but...
Well, I mean, he's going to figure out who he is.
He did say it. He said, could I speak to you for a second? Yeah. Mr. President.
He just came up to you in Mar-a-Lago.
President.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask you one question.
Yeah, how do
you take it?
Yeah, this is just not a couple of weeks ago. You've been telling these stories for over a year now, for probably 3 years.
I said, take what? How do you take the abuse? How do you wake up in the morning and put on your clothing? How do you put on a shirt? Every single day
How do you put on a shirt? Someone's investigating you. How do you put on a shirt? How do you do up your shoes? Well, it's tough. You know, I'm always being investigated. No, I mean, you're clearly an idiot. How do you lace the shoe? Oh, you've got loafers. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, sir.
Whatever happened to me, I think I wouldn't know what to do. I say, well, then don't go into politics, but don't go into politics where you're going to make America great again, because you have a lot of people that don't want to see our country be great. It's hard to believe. But he did ask me that question. I have that question. That's one of the most often asked questions that I get, Wesley. How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you get up in the morning?
Sorry.
And I don't like it because it's such a negative thought. I'll start thinking about it. I don't want to think about it. Because if I think about it too much, I'll probably start agreeing with them. But I'm never going to do that. But I've had, and I've borne all of this willingly, and I watched other people run for office. I mean, Mike Bloomberg spent $2.5 billion. He never got past the first question, right? So.
Oh, yeah, there's a joke there.
Never got past the first question, right? So. I mean, Mike Bloomberg spent $2.5 billion. He never got past the first question, right? So.
Yeah, but Mike Bloomberg was dispensed of quite quickly by Elizabeth Warren.
But I do it again because I love you and I love our country. Thank you.
Trump.
To you, and I'm just standing in their way, and I'm going to be standing in their way for a long time, and eventually I won't have to standing in their way because
it's not a thing. Like, move aside, Joe. And I'm calling him the anyway. He's not Joe. But that we. If Joe Biden wasn't in the picture, that would make sense.
In 2024, we're going to have the greatest victory of them all. The greatest victory of them all.
Okay, just like in 2020.
You know, by having this delay of 4 years, it was devastating for the psyche of our country. It was devastating for our country, devastating for many people.
The psyche.
When you look at millions and millions and millions of people pouring into our country, devastating. But, you know, the one thing, it's bigger. If we do it in 24, it's much bigger than had we done it in 20, because we have learned how this other side and how these policies.
Because 4 more?
Don't work. When you look at what happened with Afghanistan, I was taking them out. Everybody was coming out of Afghanistan.
Right. You negotiated with the Taliban without the Afghanistan government, and you negotiated a surrender. You said you were going to be pulling everyone out. After the election, by the way, you didn't have the balls to make it while you were for sure in office. You thought you were going to win. So to hedge your bets, you said you would have all the Americans out, all the American military out by May. You never had a plan for pulling out the citizens. There's never any evidence of that. Anyway, so you gave the country to the Taliban.
I was the one that got it down to 2,500 people.
Right. So you weakened our military to the point where it became very difficult for us to withdraw in the manner that we chose to withdraw. The whole thing was a disaster. I'm not saying that it was a good thing. But we're not in Afghanistan anymore. We don't have Americans in harm's way anymore, except Americans who chose to stay.
We were keeping Bagram, however, not because of Afghanistan.
Nope, that wasn't part of the plan. He released 5,000 prisoners.
And we were keeping
Taliban prisoners.
Bagram because of China, 1 hour away from where they make their nuclear base. Bagram Air Base is the biggest in the world. And you know who's occupying it right now?
Wait, is Bagram Air Base the biggest in the world?
China!
I don't know that China is. Maybe.
And they left.
So what? China has plenty of air bases.
In the dark of night, and they did leave the dogs behind. A lot of dog lovers.
Yeah,
we all love dogs, but they did. True. A lot of people said, did they leave the dogs behind? Those great German shepherds, like Conan. Remember Conan? He went after al-Baghdadi. That was not a good day for al-Baghdadi.
That was the dog that went down the tunnel after al-Baghdadi. Conan.
But under Joe.
And would not even look at Trump.
Joe Biden, American patriots are being arrested and held in captivity like animals. Look at what's happening in Washington. And I will tell you,
Yes, the situation in Afghanistan is exactly like the January 6th prisoners.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is the expert. She's been to that.
Thank you. Marcy says Fort Bragg is the biggest air base. Right.
That prison many times. There is nobody that has described what's happening in that prison. It's a hellhole. And these are soldiers and policemen. And
if you get a chance, look at the news from last night. Look at MSNBC. They had quite a few segments on it. The Democratic congresspeople who visited the January 6th prisoners paint a very different picture. You have 2 types of tablets to choose from should you choose to watch Netflix.
And firemen and medics and doctors in a couple of cases.
Really?
These are people that shouldn't have been there. And when you look at the Tucker Carlson tapes from...
Shouldn't have been in the Capitol.
2 weeks ago, and you see so many things that turned out to be...
There's not so many things. Tucker Carlson got 40,000 hours of video. He showed less than 4 minutes. That's all that he could find to justify that they were just tourists, all peacefully trotting along. 4 minutes. Less than 4 minutes out of 40,000 hours.
False. Very important what Tucker's done, what Sean has done, what Laura did. Laura did a piece last night that was incredible. And Jesse, there's a group of people that have been absolutely fantastic. Greg Kelly has been great. Rob,
but he's not on Fox.
Rob over there has been great. Newsmax just got its 15 million people back, which is great. Newsmax, they tried to destroy Newsmax. What they've done to OAN is horrible, horrible. But they tried to destroy Newsmax, and through a lot of different things, they got it back. DirecTV, they didn't like it. And they had very high ratings, and they took it off. That's something pretty unusual. But while leftist thugs are allowed to roam the streets, killing, looting, burning, raping, and pillaging, patriotic parents, Christians, conservatives, pro-life activists are being hounded by...
So they reached an agreement with DirecTV. The way this works had nothing to do with banning political speech or anything. It was when you subscribe to cable, for example. Cable gives a certain amount of money to Fox News. If Fox News or Newsmax or whatever demand more money, and DirecTV or Comcast or Xfinity or whoever you have, well, it's the same company, sorry, Spectrum or Time Warner, whomever you subscribe to, if they say, no, we can't give you $2 per subscriber, you're only worth 30 cents per subscriber, the channel goes away. And that's what happened. And the Newsmax has reached an agreement with DirecTV. It wasn't about banning political speech.
By the FBI and the DOJ.
But everything on the right is persecution.
Like terrorists, they're being treated so badly. They're allowed to spy on my campaign and nothing happens. They're allowed to write up fake dossiers, send it around to everybody, and it turned out to...
No, it wasn't sent around to everybody. In fact, it wasn't published until after the election.
...be a total hoax. There was nothing true in it. It was done by the Democrats and crooked Hillary Clinton.
It was done by a Brit.
But they persecuted us, and yet Joe Biden is a stone-cold criminal caught dead to right.
Is he?
And nothing happened.
Because he's not. There is no evidence that has been presented in any way, shape, or form that Joe Biden is a criminal.
Happens to him. Forget the family. Nothing happens to him. Yesterday, the press reported that millions and millions of dollars came into his family's bank accounts from China.
Not him. Remember when Ivanka got those millions and millions of patents? There weren't millions and millions, it's only 42, or thereabouts, that we know of. Remember when you rented 3-4 floors of Trump Tower to the Bank of China? The communist-controlled Bank of China? Remember when you had a bank account in China with millions of dollars inside of it while you were president? Remember when you had a hotel with your name on it in Washington, D.C. where foreign dignitaries would stay that would give you money? Remember that? Thanks, Phil.
Can you imagine if that were me? How would I do if China paid millions and millions, and you know, they
did. They had 3 floors in Trump Tower in New York. That's not cheap real estate.
Had to describe the work. For Jim Comer, they wanted to describe the work.
What?
And didn't look too good. Had to describe. China paid millions and millions, and you know, they had to describe the work.
Who?
For Jim Comer, they wanted to describe the work.
Well, who is describing the work?
And didn't look too good because they had no idea why they got the money.
Yeah, because they're just getting the transcripts from the Treasury Department. It doesn't say what it's for. It's just money from this place to that place and not to Joe Biden. But they played it out. Comer went on TV and said, oh, yeah, there's money going to members of the Biden family. Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, lots of them. Probably 5 or more. We don't. And then when it came out, it was this. No, it's just Hunter and the uncle and the widow of Beau Biden, not to Joe Biden.
Had no idea. Millions and...
But which, by the way, still wouldn't be illegal.
Millions of dollars coming in from China. The mainstream media... didn't even pick up a tiny piece of that story.
No, they did. They covered it.
Can you believe it? You look at the mainstream media, they don't talk about it. They're right there.
Fox News talked about it endlessly.
In fact, it was a very...
But it as the day went on, it slipped further and further into the hour. And then they said, coming up next, did Joe Biden benefit from the Chinese government? Blah, 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 blah. And then you come back after the break, and it would be another article about something else. And then they say, oh, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and Hunter and the widow.
Very big...
Ooh,
they don't talk about it.
I don't know.
Amazing.
Or maybe his name's Luke.
You know, it's amazing because When I started, they had a very, very high popularity and approval rating.
Who?
And now they're lower than Congress. Lower than, I'm very proud of that. I've exposed, but they were never like this. Now they're deranged. And not all of them. I'd say 10% of them are okay, right? But the 10% have a very hard time. They have a very hard time. And nobody can understand why a media would be against things where we want good education for our children, where we want real, strong military, where we want low taxes.
Biden increased in his budget. He increased the military to 2 years running.
And low regulations and good schools and good all.
The third year hasn't been approved yet, but it's in there.
It's just a crazy thing that they fight against. And for
the president's budget proposal is a very strange thing. It really doesn't mean anything, but it's a dance we dance. We'll talk about it another time, or we won't.
For some reason, the radical left, I don't even think they know what they're doing. I think they have so much hatred for our side. They don't want to listen to the issues. They don't want to listen to the policy. But it's a very strange thing. You know, we had more requests today, over 500 requests for media. And I said, that's nice, but probably by this point, about 90% of them. I think those red lights have gone off about 30 minutes ago. I watch it. You know, CNN, which has the lowest ratings in their history because they're fake.
Not true.
News. Anybody that has to hire Don Lemon.
$6 million in profit last year, CNN.
It has to be fake news. Don Lemon. You ever watch a thing? He fails in prime time, so they move him to the morning at a ridiculous salary, right? They probably paid him more. Why do they do that? Why don't they just hire somebody new? He can only do better. They should hire Matt Gaetz. Would you like to get out?
I'd love
the
to see
weaponization of our justice system is not, as some have called it, a political spectacle. This is the central issue of our time. I think it's one of the biggest issues. And by the way, nobody
you just said it was a central issue, but that was on the teleprompter, so you didn't write that.
Called out China like Donald Trump. Nobody called out Russia like Donald Trump. And they want to know.
You know, the way that you said that he couldn't see any reason why Putin would have attacked the United States and went against our own intelligence community. Yeah, that's no one's tougher.
Remember when they said, oh, he's soft on Russia? Putin said to me, if you're soft, I'd hate like hell to see you when you're tough. I called off. Remember, I ended Nord Stream 2. Nobody in this audience, nobody in Washington ever heard of Nord Stream 2. That's
not true. Nord Stream 2 wasn't done yet.
The pipeline. I ended the pipeline.
Nope.
I gave
that pipeline's, well, it's not operational now because there was an explosion that no one's figured out.
Gave them hundreds and hundreds of javelins, whereas Obama gave them pillows.
Remember, he tried to stop the javelins, and the pillow story is nonsense.
Maybe they got them from my...
The U.S. Army, or the Pentagon, gave the Ukrainians, during Obama's time, a ton of defensive weapons. And things like Humvees and night goggles, stuff like that, just not something that you could use to fire upon the Russians because they didn't want that to happen. Now it's happening. The two things about the javelins. Number one, Trump tried to stop it in exchange for an investigation of Joe Biden's family. And two, when those javelins were given, Trump put in the disclaimer that they could not be used offensively. So here are some weapons, but you can't touch them. You can't use them. That's what he made the Ukrainians agree to, which, by the way, was illegal because Congress gets to do that.
Mike Lindell, did they buy it from you?
Mike,
I hope they didn't.
Trump did not have the power to hold the javelins. Those javelins were given to the Ukrainians by Congress, who control the strings, the purse strings.
Will be under investigation tomorrow.
So Trump's whole I need to
no,
do
they
us a
gave
favor,
him pillows and sheets.
Or you're not going to get those javelins. That was it. He had no control over that. He delayed the process, but he couldn't actually stop Zelensky from getting the javelins.
So I gave him javelins, and then they said, and you saw what those javelins did to their tanks. That wasn't pretty, but that was me that gave it to him. And then they say Trump was soft. I saw it the other day. Some idiot was saying
the javelins were given to the Ukrainians by Congress.
Trump was actually soft on Russia. I ended Nord Stream 2. The pipeline was done, and one of the first things.
The pipeline wasn't done. Did we just watch this part?
Things that Biden did when he came back, and this is the biggest
He's just repeating himself.
thing. That is the biggest development they've ever done. That was economic development. That was massive money. This was a pipeline going to Germany and all of Europe, spread all over Europe. I ended it. And I told Europe, if you aren't going to go along with me, then I'm not going to do any business, because Europe is almost as bad as China having to do with trade. A lot of us come from Europe indirectly, directly and indirectly, so we love Europe. But they rip us off just like everybody. And I was very worried yesterday when I watched in Canada,
Oh, yeah.
Joe Biden talking about different deals they're making with Canada. I dealt with Trudeau, and I dealt with some of his people. They treat us horribly on trade. And I'm watching these different deals that they're announcing.
The U.S. actually has a trade surplus with Canada.
They are horrible, horrible deals for our country. They're
No, number one trading partner on the planet, Canada and the United States.
great for Canada, but horrible, horrible deals for our country. But the destruction of the rule of law is a tremendous threat to Western civilization. And I
Okay, now he's back on the teleprompter. That had nothing to do with the USMCA.
say, I was asked the other day, and I took a little heat for it. They said, who's our biggest threat? Is it China, sir? Is it Russia? I said, no, our biggest threat are high-level politicians.
He wasn't asked this, by the way. I don't think he was asked this. He said it in a weird, very strangely lit video that he put out on True Social.
At work in the United
There was no interview.
States government.
Could have been an interview earlier. He just decided that now it's the United States government that's the biggest enemy.
Like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi,
People he doesn't know.
Schumer, Biden, Justice Department.
Strawberries.
Because that's poisoning our country. I can do things with China. I made the greatest trade deal in history with China. I don't even talk about it, because sometime after that, fairly shortly, what happened with COVID, it was like I didn't want to talk about a trade deal, because no trade deal you make is going to ever $50 trillion worldwide. Think of it.
No trade deal you're ever going to make is ever going to $50 billion. Was ever going to what?
$50 trillion is the damage done. China doesn't have anywhere near that money. Nobody has anywhere near that money. The damage they did. So I don't talk about it. But I had a great relationship with China. We put massive tariffs. We took hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars out of China. No other president took anything out of China, not 10 cents.
The money's paid by American brokers.
But the only way to stop these arsonists, and that's what they are, is arsonists. And I really do believe, and they'll go right and say, oh, Trump likes China more than he likes crazy Nancy Pelosi. But
she's not even the speaker anymore.
In many ways, these sick people are more of a threat, because we can deal with China. I was beating China so badly, nobody's ever seen. We were lapping them. And then COVID came in. We
Not a thing.
had to go back.
Our manufacturing was in contraction under Trump. Before COVID, the United States manufacturing base was in contraction. Going down the wrong way.
We did a great job. And when we unfortunately had to give up what we were doing, very sad day for everybody in this audience, and for, frankly, most of the country, because we were doing so well. But the stock market was actually higher than it was just days before COVID was something that nobody ever saw, came into our country. So we really rebuilt it twice. But if you go back to those earlier days, which wasn't that long ago, we had a country the likes of which nobody has ever done before. And China.
No, GDP was 2.4% under Trump, right before COVID. It was terrible.
It wasn't a threat. China.
He said he saw no reason why we couldn't get to 4, 5, 6, 7. He never got to 4% in his entire 4 years. Never had 4% GDP growth.
Was actually in deep trouble because we had all the power. We had this economic power that was used very judiciously, but we were winning, and we were winning big. The problem isn't China. The problem is stupid people that have to deal with China. That's the problem, and that's what we have. And I watched Joe.
Got a ton of people watching right now. Welcome, everybody. I'm your KevinlyFather, Kevin Williams. This is Trump, your previous president. possibly about to be indicted. We don't know. No one knows anything for sure. But we just do a live fact check as we stream along. So welcome to the chat room. You're welcome to chat. You're welcome to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either one helps me. If you're chatting on Twitch or Facebook or some other platform, the fastest way to get a response is to do it through Facebook. I'm lying. Through YouTube.
Biden yesterday in the halls of Parliament, Canadian Parliament, this beautiful Parliament, and there's Trudeau with his beautiful wife, and they're sitting there laughing and laughing. They think it's so great because they pulled the wool over his eyes. The deals they made for that guy, I would never have made those deals. I would never. But I watched Joe Biden say, I'd like to thank China. And he's in Canada. And they go, oh, because they start screaming at him.
Yeah, he corrected himself right away. He said China, then he laughed. He said Canada, of course. And then he said, well, that's what's on my mind, because they were just talking about China. And that's correct. And he caught himself. As opposed to the time that Trump was talking about Nambia and never caught himself, because Nambia is not a thing.
The entire room starts laughing.
Right, because it's funny.
I'd like to thank China. But he's in Canadian Parliament. He said, I mean Canada.
Right.
The whole place was...
He had them rolling. Biden told hockey jokes. He got some serious pucking laughs in there.
Laughing. They're laughing in our country. We don't want anyone to laugh. Nobody laughed at our country when I ran it, I can tell you that.
Yep. Except that multiple times people laughed at Donald Trump himself. Not the country. Donald Trump. Right now, the world is laughing if they're watching this. Those of you watching in the UK or some other place overseas, yeah, you're welcome to laugh at this. I laugh at Texas. Seriously, they keep electing people like this.
The only way to stop these arsonists is to rebuke and reject this evil persecution by sending us straight back to the White House to expel the communists and the Marxists and all of them in 2024. And we'll do it in short order. One thing I'll tell you what, I was in Washington 17 times in my life, they say. The fake news reports that so might not be true, but not much more than that.
He used to claim that himself, too. And then he said 21, and it's been all over the place.
17 times I never stayed over. And I was...
For some reason, he's bragging about that. He never stayed in Washington, D.C. Wow. He never got a hotel room. Wow.
I wasn't aware too much of that particular society. It's a D.C. society. And I had to rely on a lot of people. So
this has completely changed. If you remember in 2016, he knew exactly how everything worked. That's why he was going to be such a good president. Because he knew the ins and outs of how you manipulate politicians. He knew everybody. He knew the Clintons. He knew the Reagans. He knew
Some were rhinos, but they gave me advice. And we had unbelievable people. We rebuilt our military. We got the tax cuts. We got so much. We did so much. But we had some I wouldn't have used. I would have liked to have had more powerful, stronger attorney generals. There were some people that I wouldn't have put. But here's the...
But you did put them, you know? So that's kind of what happened.
Beauty of being there. I was there 4 years. I know the good ones.
And didn't drain the swamp.
I know the strong ones. I know the loyal ones. I know the ones...
Right. So why didn't you make those guys, the loyal ones, by the way, why didn't you make those guys the guys in charge? Why are you now being attacked?
That love our country. When you go there and you weren't, number one, a politician, and number two, you were literally never in Washington, you have to...
No, you were in Washington many times. You just said you were in Washington 17 times. That's how literally means.
To a certain extent, rely on other people. And I take advice from, in a couple of cases, Dan. And I got great advice, including your son. That was good advice. His son was a great U.S. attorney.
He's talking about Dan, the lieutenant governor of Texas.
One of the best. But, you know, we get good advice, but you also get some advice. Right now, I know the good ones, and we know the bad ones, and we know the weak ones, and we know the strong ones.
Yeah, you going to tell us about it someday?
But we know the ones that love our country, because it's all about common sense and love. Never forget the very same...
Common sense and love.
People who are always after me are the ones throwing open your borders to millions and millions of illegal aliens. Nobody suffers more than this state. I watch on television...
Dreamer says he exposed Nast Pelosi. Are you talking about Condé Nast? Are you a travel agent?
The other day, people having homes, they're just being invaded. And the real...
I do bash Biden.
Number, in my opinion, you know, they like to say 4 million people, 3 million people. Maybe every once in a while you hear 4.5. In my opinion, by the end of this year, it'll be 15 million people.
Oh, well, then that's what it's going to be then.
Will have come into this country, not 4 million or 5 million, 15 million, which is bigger than New York State. But they're flooding your towns with deadly drugs.
So wait, he just said 15 million people coming in. Bigger than New York State. Hold on. Population of New York State is 20 million. So,
selling you.
But again, that's his home state.
Your jobs to China, mutilating your children. They're mutilating your children. Who would have thought 12 years ago a thing like that to say would be ridiculous? Nobody would know what you're even talking about.
In his defense, and I'm always fair, you guys know, in his defense, New York did have fewer than 15 million people at one point. It was 1953.
Prior to your life savings, releasing violent criminals to prey on innocent people.
Donna, he's mumbling and stuttering a ton here, and stuttering is a disability. If you're going to make fun of people with disabilities, it's kind of low.
We have so many people pouring in, and so many of these people are not the people you want coming into our country. Justice will only be done when we have thrown this repulsive political class the hell out of office. We have to get them out.
Stop not like Biden. I don't know what that means. We try and use punctuation in here so that we can help each other. And the audio's gone. Okay, does anybody read lips? Let's see if it comes back here. So this is not on my feed. Or maybe it is. Maybe something bad has happened here. Let's, hold on. Let's see if we can go forward a little bit here and see if his audio comes.
That's the way it's got to be. Either the deep state destroys America or we destroy the deep state.
Super Truck, and I appreciate your opinion.
That's the way it's got to be. We're at a very pivotal point in our country. Either we descend into a lawless abyss of open borders, rampant killings.
Unfortunately, Super Truck and Trump, for you, he can't win in 2024. It's not going to happen. I predicted he would win in 2016. I predicted he was losing 2020. I'm 100% on Trump so far. I predicted he would lose in 2000 when he ran the first time, and he did badly.
Super hyperinflation, which is what we have right now, and not coming down.
Not a thing. It is coming down.
Festering corruption, or we evict Joe Biden and the Democrats from the White House and we make America great again.
It's just Joe Biden in the White House, not the Democrats.
We are thrilled to be joined by great friends of mine and...
Oh my God, he's just at the introductions? I can't do the whole thing, guys. I can't do it. Right now, between my shoulder blades, it's just like...
Texas patriots who support us, many of whom are here tonight. We've gotten so many endorsements, it's incredible, but many of them are here, and I want to start with the head of our campaign, along with your great Attorney General. But he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he called up right after the election. He says, we got to do it again, sir. We have no choice. So I want to ask...
Yeah, bring the... Jojo, bring the icy hot for me, would you?
Dan Patrick to please stand. Lieutenant...
If you can't find it, there's some in the door of my car.
Governor Dan Patrick.
Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor.
Great job, Dan. He's a great man. He loves this state and he loves this country. Attorney General Ken Paxton. Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. Indictment. Representatives, Ronnie Jackson. Love him, Texas, because he's special.
That's the Candyman, former doctor who said Trump weighed a belting 232, was it? Something ridiculous.
He's a doctor, he's an admiral, and he's a politician, a congressman. I said, which do you like best? I think he said maybe being a doctor. But he gave me a cognitive test. You know, Ronnie Jackson in the White House. You know, they...
Person, woman, man, camera, TV. Please get it wrong. This will make my life complete.
Said... This guy is brilliant. He's going to destroy our country. He's taking it over lock. Okay, that was about 2 weeks.
What?
They had all different narratives in the White House.
Yeah.
You know, they said, This guy is brilliant. He's going to destroy our country. He's taking it over lock.
Who said that you were brilliant? Putin did. He actually said that Trump was flamboyant, but the Russian translates differently, and so he thinks Putin called him brilliant. Putin never did.
Okay, that was about 2 weeks. They had all different narratives. Then they say, oh, he's dumb as a rock, or dumb as a rock. Then they say something else, he's in the middle. They had about 19 different...
He's in the middle, between brilliant and dumb as a rock. No one was saying that!
Narratives. I said to Ronnie Jackson, is there a
Yeah, it was John Barron who was saying that. You're right. I'm sorry. I sit corrected.
test I could take to prove how smart I am?
No, the Montreal Cognitive Test doesn't... Oh, even better. This is better than Ben Gay. This is Trader Joe's coconut almonds. Oh, that's not the good stuff. No.
Okay.
Check the door of my car. But thank you. The door, in the pocket in the door. Sorry, everybody.
Well, sir, we have the so-and-so cognitive test that's given by Walter Reed.
Right, but that doesn't tell you how smart you are. That just tells you that you can recognize a camel.
I said, well, is it tough? He said, actually, after the first few questions, it gets pretty tough.
No,
the problem
it does
is
not.
if you do badly, I don't know
Draw 10 past 2 on this clock.
if we'll be able to shield it because...
I think it's 10 minutes to 2. I don't know. It's been a while since I took the test. But I aced it. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. We're trying to do a broadcast here, JoJo. Oh. She came in to ask for my car key so she could get into my car and get the stuff that's going to stop my back from hurting. How selfish!
You know, it's sort of a public place. Other doctors see it. Other doctors are there when the test is given. I said, should I do it or not?
Are they?
And I did it.
There's
And you know
no
what?
reason.
I aced it. Got them all right.
There's no reason for anyone else to be present during the Montreal Cognitive Test. We've gone over this before in the live streams. You can go back and look if you want to. You don't have to. Just look up Montreal Cognitive Test. It's really simple.
Every single place. Some of them are tough. And you know, it was after that that nobody called me stupid anymore. It was very good. Because I never liked that narrative. I don't like the word stupid, but other people are very stupid. Another guy who's fantastic, Troy Nels. This guy is a warrior. He is a warrior. He's tough as hell.
All right.
And
Jojo
somebody, I
Santana.
wish I had a future like this guy. You heard him speak before. I heard him from that very nice airplane that's behind us. I said, you know, I never knew you were that great a speaker. I've heard
Did I miss person, woman, man, camera, TV? Did he say it?
the word Wesley Hunt. He's a great speaker. Thank you. Thank you, Wesley. And by the way, these are all people that have endorsed me, because if they didn't endorse me, I say don't even come. I have a few said, sir, I love you. We're going to endorse you down the road. I said, that's okay. Don't bother coming. These people endorse me. Michael Burgess just endorsed me. Thank you, Michael. Where's Michael? He's around here someplace. Pete Sessions, whose wife Karen
Thanks for that, Random. We're just going to skip through all the introductions. It's the same.
is here. Where's Karen? Commissioner Dawes. But, you know, they're exactly what happened. You have to take me as you... But Sid said, I don't know what polls you're looking at.
Okay, so this is more introductions.
Actually far superior to him.
Okay.
Great, Brad. Thank you very much. A friend of mine, Andy Beal. Andy Beal, Beal Bank. He is the smartest banker. He makes money of the market. No. He does. Just the guitar for a little while.
Okay, still with the introductions. My God.
And we worked very closely on the border, and it was good for him, good for us, but we had a border that was virtually shut, not only to people. They came in. If they come in legally, we like it. But it also, we had drugs that were literally 1/10 of what they are now. The drugs
It's not even close to the truth. But Americans bring in most of the fentanyl.
are pouring in. People talk about the people that are pouring in, but the drugs that are pouring into our country, killing everybody, killing so many people.
Everybody's dead. Sorry. If you're watching in the UK, please send some people over here because everyone's dead.
That's another lie, Dan, because they keep talking about 100,000 people, 75,000 people. I've been hearing that number for 15 years. It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, probably 500,000 people, and nobody wants to say it.
500,000 overdoses in this country every year. That is just not happening. We would know.
There's no army that could ever do damage to us like that's doing. I promised to appoint true conservative justices to the United States Supreme Court, and I did. I promised to move the embassy to
He did that.
Jerusalem, and I got it built. Not only did I do that,
Please don't tell us the story about 100,000, 600 million.
I got it built for a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
It was supposed to cost $2 billion. I got it built for $500,000. Does that sound? We took an existing building.
So he took it down from 2 billion. Did he say billion?
Fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time. It was supposed to cost $2 billion. I got it built.
$2 billion. We were going to build an embassy in Jerusalem for $2 billion. And he got it down to $500,000. Again, someone was saying something about stuttering and mumbling. He just got his home state population drastically off by 33%. And he said he was going to spend $2 billion with a B dollars on an embassy. I would much rather have a president who stutters or mumbles the correct information or corrects himself when he gets something wrong than this idiot who says $2 billion for a building and just keeps rolling.
Built for $500,000. Does that sound? We took an existing building and
Does that sound what?
I renovated it.
Yeah, $500,000 still sounds like a lot for renovating a building.
And we got it
Although if there's bathrooms and those Toto toilets that flush automatically, and yeah, I get it.
built, and it's actually beautiful. Old Jerusalem stone, very expensive stone, but in Jerusalem it didn't cost that much. I promised to rebuild our military, withdraw from the ridiculous.
I wonder why Jerusalem stone wasn't that expensive in Jerusalem. You know, I've heard Italian marble is really cheap in Italy.
Iran nuclear deal. Can you believe what's going on in Iran? And you see what's going on? They attacked us in 78 different locations. When I was president, they didn't attack us at all. They attacked us in 78 different locations.
Does anyone know what he's talking about with the 78 different locations?
I promised to kill the unfair and ridiculous Paris Climate Accord where the United States was going to pay trillions of dollars and China, Russia, India weren't paying anything.
That's not true.
And I achieved a thing called, which you'll like, energy independence, soon to be energy dominant.
He did not.
We're going to be energy dominant. For Texas, we would have had, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation in the world. Does anyone know?
That's not true. That's not true at all. We're 11th. Venezuela is number 1. We're not even close.
That nobody knows that. And
That's
I got
not a thing.
Anwar approved in Alaska, and one of the first moves the Biden administration did, Ronald Reagan couldn't get it done. Nobody could get it done. Of course, Bush couldn't get it done.
What about the Biden and Anwar?
I don't know if he tried. But everybody tried to get it done. I got it done. We were all set. We were going to take out more. We could have paid off debt. We would have made a fortune.
That's not how oil works. Alaska would have done well.
As big as Saudi Arabia, probably.
Does he think the federal government owns the oil?
Anwar. And the first thing they did, first week.
That's how it works in a lot of countries, by the way. The government owns the oil. The people own the resources. For example, in Alberta, the people own the rights to the oil.
Is they ended the Anwar deal that I made. And Alaska was getting all set to go to town. But I made these promises and more, and I kept every single one of those promises and many, many more than that.
And many, many more. That's why everybody has tremendous health care. And everybody has school choice.
Now we're laying out a bold, fast-forward-looking vision for what
Fast forward looking.
we will do when we take the oath of office as the 47th president of the United States.
A bold, fast-forward vision for what
out a bold,
we will do.
Fast-forward-looking vision for what we will do when we take the oath of office
He's the worst reader.
as the 47th president of the United States. as president, I will immediately end the invasion of our southern border and all of those Texas
Could have done it before. Could have built your wall. You didn't.
ranchers.
Are you going to tell us that you did build the wall and then you decided to build more of the wall? Because that way he accomplished it, right? He finished the wall, which he never did.
All of those great ranchers whose houses are being invaded. They
Properties, not houses.
never had anything like this. I saw somebody three days ago said 2 years ago the border was totally secure. We had no problem. You wouldn't see anything. And today,
During COVID. Nobody was coming across the border during COVID.
it's a disaster. People knocking on our
Remember, the United States was terrible during COVID. We had ridiculous policies.
door and they want to knock the hell out of us. I built hundreds of miles of wall and completed that task totally as promised, and then I began to add.
Yeah, see, now his story is that he did build the wall. He finished it. And then he decided there's more. Just what that is that's poor planning.
Even more wall in areas where it was needed, and I could have done it all in 3.
Right. So the areas that were needed, I'm sorry, I'm eating almonds, and I can't help it. They're chocolate coated. No, I'm sorry, they're coconut coated. Because I'm eating the almonds, I said coconut instead of chocolate. See? So I'm obviously in cognitive decline. I should go to Montreal.
3 more weeks, but Biden decided not to do it, and that's when I said, well, if he doesn't want to do it, then he actually wants to have open borders. That's when I first saw it, Dan. Under my leadership,
No, they were talking about open borders under Hillary.
we will seal it up and we will expand the wall even further. Walls do work. Remember, I used to say walls and wheels. They can come up with all the computers and everything they want. The 2 things that are going to work for a long time are walls and wheels.
And portable handsaws to get through the wall, which happens over and over again.
Other countries are emptying out their prisons, insane asylums, and mental
not.
institutions.
They're not.
And sending their most heinous criminals to the United States. And who can blame them, right? Who
Not a
can
thing.
blame them? These are very smart people, the presidents and the heads of these countries. Presidents, prime ministers, and dictators. I know them all. But they're very smart, very streetwise, and they're sending their criminals to live in the United States. We're talking about mental institutions and prisons, think of it. And they're all coming
This was actually looked at intensely, and there's no evidence that anyone's doing that.
in. I read a story recently where a doctor in a mental institution in a certain country in South America
Won't give us the country.
is saying, my whole life I've been so busy taking care of people, but now I have no people to take care of because they're all being sent into the United States. And I said, how stupid are we? How stupid are we?
That anyone would believe that story without a name or a country.
How stupid are we? We're going to be living with this for so long, but we're going to get as many as we can. We're going to get ICE on the road because ICE and Border Patrol, guys like Tom Homan, who I saw yesterday, is fantastic. And you have some people at Border Patrol, I'll tell you. You're a leader at Border Patrol. I won't mention his name because I don't think he's supposed to be very political. But you got a great, that's right, you got a great man at Border Patrol. As president, I'll sign a massive increase in Border Patrol and a colossal increase in the number of ICE deportation
Biden's done that already.
offices. We're going to clean up our country. We're going to clean it up. These are great American heroes. Nobody knows about it. And, you know, I know some of the people in the first few rows, and they're tough guys, but they're not going to work for ICE. ICE will walk into MS-13. They call it a nest, where guys will kill young girls. They killed 2 young 16-year-old girls with
That's a young
knives. They
girl.
didn't want to use a gun because it's too fast.
They
They're
use knives.
vicious, vicious people. And they killed them with knives. They carved them up, and they died. Both of them, they were going to school. They were walking to school in Long Island, and they killed them. And these guys walk into those nests. They walk in, and they're swinging, and their fists are going and everything. They end up always standing up and cart.
Yeah, that's how ICE goes into a MS-13 nest. They're swinging fists. That's how they... Come on, guys. We're going to take you down. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
them away. They take them in a paddy wagon, they call it. They take them away. They get
They don't call it a paddy wagon. That is a slang term.
them the hell out of our country. We couldn't get them out under Obama because the other countries wouldn't take them. They said, we're not going to take the people. So they'd clog up the airport. You couldn't land the plane. They'd clog up the roadway so the buses taking...
Not a thing. Never happened.
Really bad people back into Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, other countries. They wouldn't allow us to do it. So I said to them, well...
Not true.
How are we going to get them out? They said, well, sir, we can't get them out. We gave up years ago under the...
MS-13, by the way, comes from Los Angeles, but it's primarily Honduran or expats from Honduras.
Obama administration, because they won't take them back. I said, let me ask you a question. How much do we pay them in aid? Sir, we pay them $750 million a year.
Goes up every time.
I said, tell them that as of tonight at 5 o'clock, they're not getting any more aid. Remember, I did.
Before the story was tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, they're getting no more aid. But now it's tonight at 5 o'clock for some reason. Like, we're going to shut off their credit cards at 5 o'clock. So they're going to go to the ATM. They're not going to be able to get the pesos.
Did this, Dan? And the following morning at 8 o'clock, I get 3 calls almost simultaneously. Separate but simultaneously. And they said...
Why would they wait until the next morning at 8 o'clock, separate and simultaneously, to call you when the deadline was 5 o'clock tonight?
Essentially the same thing. Sir, we understand there's some difficulty with getting people back into our nation. We would be honored to take MS-13 with tattoos all over their face. We would...
That's just Honduras.
Be honored. We would be honored to take them back, sir. They are wonderful people. Please send as many as you would like, sir. When are we...
By the way, that's how you stab someone. Like this. You always see that in the movies. That's, I'm going to stab you. Did he watch Zorro as a kid or what?
Going to get the money. Are we going to get some money? But we don't use that. We don't talk that way in government because we have stupid people doing things. We will use all necessary state, local, federal, and military resources to carry out the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. And Eisenhower did it, so we don't have...
Obama did it.
...to feel so bad, but Eisenhower was very, very strong on that. A lot of people don't know that. I will reinstitute Title 42 to keep sick people...
Obama was called a deporter-in-chief.
...out of our country and to bring back Remain in Mexico policy. You can't come in, you have to remain in Mexico. You think that was easy for me to get? And the first day they came in, they didn't want to do it.
You've previously said that it was easy.
And even the judge ruled in our favor. I will ask every state and federal agency to identify every known or suspected gang member in America, and every one of them that is here illegally will be packed up and immediately taken out of our country and delivered to their country of origin.
Yeah, that's not how it works. They have to go through a judicial process because this is the United States of America and we are a nation of laws.
And before I even arrive at the Oval Office, shortly after I win the presidency, I will have the disastrous war between Russia and Ukraine settled. It would never have happened.
Well, then you could do that now. Because once you arrive at the Oval Office, you're president. So if you can do that before you get there, if you wouldn't mind, so that people stop dying, especially in Ukraine, if you wouldn't mind just taking care of that now, that would be great, Mr. President.
I used to talk to Putin. I got along well with Putin. I used to talk to Putin about it. It's something he certainly had in his mind, never even talked about it. For 4 years, you didn't even hear about it. As soon as I was out or left, or however you want to describe that catastrophe, they started putting soldiers on the border. But even then, he didn't want to do it. He wanted to get a peace. Now it...
No. Russia was in Crimea, which is part of the Ukraine, the entire 4 years that Trump was in office. They were already there.
Looks like he'll end up probably getting the whole thing. But I've never seen anything like it. What's happened, and if you saw...
Wait, did he just say Putin's going to get the whole thing?
Soldiers on the border. But even then, he didn't want to do it. He wanted to get a peace. Now it looks like he'll end up probably getting the whole thing.
Wow.
But
he just said that Putin's going to take all of the Ukraine. You see, I almost missed that.
I've never seen anything like it. What's happened, and if you saw the other day with...
That's huge. That is a major insult to the people of Ukraine, who are fighting like hell. I thought that Putin would take over Ukraine very quickly. But this is a former president.
President Xi, smart, top of his game. President Putin, smart, very smart people, standing there talking about the world order for the next 100 years. That's one of the saddest things you can imagine, one of the saddest. I'm proud to be the only president in decades who did not start a new war. Everyone said, oh, he's going to start. He's going to start a new war.
Yeah, typically, we don't want to be the country starting the war anyway.
And it's no coincidence that the deep state is coming after me even harder since I pledged to swiftly end the war in Ukraine. So when I say end it, I'm going to get a settlement very quickly. And I know both people, and you can get it very, very quickly. You can only do it through the presidency.
Well, no, you said before you got to the White House you could do it, so do it.
But you control the money coming in, coming out. You can get that. I will have that settlement done within 20.
We're not giving any money to Russia. In fact, we're taking money from Russia. So what you're saying is you would squeeze the Ukraine. I'm sorry, Ukraine. You would squeeze Ukraine and choke them until they agree to a settlement, which is a win for Putin.
24 hours. Standing before you today, I am the only candidate who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III, which we're heading into. We're heading into World War III, and this will be a war like no other. Not only is Biden...
Well, there's been 2 other world wars, so World War III will be like the other 2. That's why they call it 3.
Courting nuclear holocaust. He's blowing up the U.S. economy with the Biden banking crisis, a disaster of historic proportions. There's no reason for that either. There's no reason for inflation. You know who caused inflation? Energy. He restricted energy. He made it impossible to get. It went through the roof. Sid, it went through the roof. Energy went through the roof, and with it came inflation.
Well, no, it was supply and demand. It wasn't energy.
As president,
Energy's
I will
part
end
of
the
it, of course.
inflation.
But supply and demand. Once the demand for energy went up, the energy costs increased. But it was universal inflation. We went through 2 years of nobody making anything. And then we came out of it, and everybody wanted stuff, which is great because we've got a thriving economy, and consumers are spending, but you've got to have products. And if there's not enough product to go around, the price gets more. It's basic economics.
Nightmare and rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world, just like we had it before. And I will reclaim our energy independence and energy dominance as we had just a few short years ago. Proud Texas energy workers will once again do energy independence and energy dominance as we had just a few short years ago.
Just earlier today, he said we were on our way to energy dominance. We never achieved energy dominance under Trump. So we're not going to go back there because we never were there.
Proud Texas energy workers will once again be pumping, producing, and refining Texas oil and gas to turn America into the #1 energy superpower on earth. And we had it there. We had it. We were doing more than Saudi Arabia, but we were #1. I would have been bigger than both of them combined in a short period of time. And then they did what they've done. I will protect, unlike DeSantis, Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors, defending them from both the radical left and the Paul Ryan Republican establishment.
The Paul Ryan.
I will revoke
like
China's
anybody there in that audience remembers Paul Ryan.
Favored nation status. I will implement a 4-year plan to phase out all Chinese imports of essential goods and gain total independence.
I was just looking at the chat room here. David Barnett, I don't remember Obama starting a war. That's because he didn't.
From China.
There were military actions under all presidents. President Trump had military actions, but no, Biden, or in fact, we haven't been at war officially since World War II. So,
which we don't have right now. And I will hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for unleashing the China virus upon the world. So many people are dead. I will immediately sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other racial sexual, or political content on our children.
So the Bible?
I will fight for parents' rights, including universal school choice and the direct election.
Yeah, David Barnett, Trump did approve missiles hitting in Syria and had the most beautiful chocolate cake. He was talking with President Xi at the time when he gave the order. And they had the most beautiful chocolate cake. And then he told a reporter on Fox News that he did. He ordered the missiles to strike Iraq. But it was Syria. Remember that? And then Biden said China, and he meant Canada. So he's an idiot. But Trump, because Biden corrected himself, but Trump said Iraq when he meant Syria, and he didn't correct himself. The reporter had to correct him.
Of school
and that was on Fox News.
Principals by the parents. If any principal is not getting the job done, the parents should be able to vote to fire and select someone else who will get the job done.
That's what we want.
We will defeat the...
See if I can find it. Hold on.
And we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate.
Yeah, we had the most beautiful. It was Maria Barda de Roma. I'll bring it over to you guys. Hold on. I can't. I can make this work.
And we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen. And President Xi was enjoying it. And I said, Mr. President.
Yeah,
and we had the most beautiful piece of chocolate cake that you've ever seen. And President Xi was enjoying it. And I said, Mr. President, let me explain something to you. This is during dessert. So what happens is I said, we've just launched 59.
They were having chocolate cake during dessert. I was like, wait, what? When were you having? Was this during tea? Was this an aperitif? Oh, it was during dessert. Thank you, sir. Again, he's America's teacher.
Missiles heading to Iraq.
Heading to Iraq. He just launched 59 missiles heading to Iraq.
Heading to Iraq.
Well, you headed to Syria.
Yes, heading toward Syria.
Yeah, see? When you have to be corrected by Maria Bartichourounoma, there's a problem. But remember that time that Biden said China and then immediately corrected himself because he was just discussing China and he was in Canada in the Canadian part? Remember that time? Oh, man, that Biden.
Cult of gender ideology to reassert that God created two genders, male and female. Thank you.
Actually, that's pretty much nature. And sometimes God creates hermaphrodites. Sometimes God creates people with multiple sex organs. I mean, God doesn't get it right every time. He loves that, by the way. He loves talking about how God created male and female. Just his face just lights up.
Right. I will revoke.
Sean, that's correct. Yeah, he warned. But that's typical. The Russians have forces in Syria, so you would give them the heads up. You would give a lot of countries the heads up. But it wasn't much of a heads up.
Every Biden policy promoting the disfigurement of our youth and ask Congress to send me a bill prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. And we will keep men out of women's sports. I will not give one penny to any school that is a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. Just as we did before, we will protect innocent.
But remember, it was him saying we need to slow the spread. We need 15 days to slow the spread. That was his big... He took credit for that at the time.
Life.
Took credit for shutting down the country. The whole country and stopping the virus. That's what he took credit for.
And defend free speech. I will support a constitutional amendment to put term limits on members of Congress.
What about the Freedom City?
And I will move heaven and earth to fully secure our...
Ronnie, your media is WACKO. If you can, I probably English might be your second language or something, Ronnie, but if you could use English in the chat room, that helps everybody else, and that way we can respond to you appropriately. Your is 2 words. You are media is WACKO. It doesn't make any sense.
Elections.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Our goal will be one day voting with all paper ballots. Very simple.
We already have all paper ballots in any of the disputed states. We have 95% of the ballots in this country are already paper.
But until that day comes, Republicans must compete using every lawful means to win. We have to do it. This election is everything. We're not
By voting.
going to have a country left if we don't win this election. This agenda will end America's
There will still be an America.
destruction at the hands of Biden and the radical left Democrats. But it's not enough just to stop the forces tearing down America. It's time to start talking about greatness for our country again. Our objective will be a quantum leap in American standards of living. We will hold a competition to build
He has no idea what a quantum leap is.
new freedom cities throughout our country, giving countless Americans a new shot at home ownership and a real
freedom cities on the frontier in the middle of nowhere. That's where everyone wants to live. Are you going to pay him to have babies too?
shot at the American dream. We will build new monuments to our great American heroes. We won't tear them down. We'll build them up.
Whatever happened to the statue of Muhammad Ali? Remember the Garden of Great Americans or whatever? Did that ever start? Is that a thing anywhere?
Clean out homeless camps from our inner cities. Get rid of ugly buildings that are hurting.
And do what with the homeless people, sir? What do you do with the Americans, most of whom are vets? What do you do with the people with psychological problems? You just clean them up? You cleanse us? What's the plan?
Those
They're probably the ones going to live in the freedom cities and be paid to have babies.
cities and other places and return to the magnificent classical style of Western civilization. We will support baby bonuses. So many people like that for the
baby
new
bonuses, yeah. If you don't believe this, Ronnie in the chat room says, if you don't believe this country is in trouble and the left are doing the USA great harm, then... it went away. I'm sorry, Ronnie. I'm sorry. The chat room's going too fast. I lost you.
baby boom that will be coming. We need babies.
Oh, I see, Ronnie. You're a President Trump fan. You're saying President Donald Trump, 2024. Unfortunately, in 2024, he can't win.
All of this is within our reach as long as we have the courage to stick together, stand firm against all attacks, and see this mission through to ultimate victory.
Oh, they've got us back.
In conclusion, our MAGA movement is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. Together, we are taking on some of the most menacing forces and vicious opponents.
Someone said, David said the new Democratic mayor of LA is doing that. I don't know what that's referring to, but you might be talking about the homeless issue. No, the housing is being built for the homeless. And not only housing, but support. Once you get the homeless into the housing, and you can't force them to go there because they're Americans, once you get them there, they have to have the support to be able to stay clean, to be able to seek mental health, etc., etc. And you have to have support for them to get jobs and have a good income and start paying for themselves and all that good stuff. So that's what the mayor is actually working on here in LA. And homelessness is a tremendous problem here. There's about 76,000 homeless the last time they did a census. In Los Angeles, so it is a huge problem under every freeway, almost every freeway overpass you see. But they are working. One of the things they're doing is the voters in Los Angeles just passed a mansion tax, so that's going to kick in April. And what's going to happen is if you have a piece of property and you're selling it for more than X million dollars, there's two tiers. I think it's 5 million and then 10 million, and above 10 million, there's going to be a tax of 4 or 5%. Forgive me, I don't know the exact numbers. Basically, when you sell a mansion, a tax is going to go to raise money to build places for the homeless and to provide them support. Because it's not enough just to put them somewhere. So that's what's going on in Los Angeles. So, because of that, if you've ever thought about buying yourself a mansion, now's the time to do it. Right before April 1st. And this is not a joke. This is not an April Fool's joke. Wouldn't it be great if it was?
Our people have ever seen, some of them from within. But no matter how hateful and corrupt the communists and criminals we're fighting against may be, you must never forget this nation does not belong to them. This nation belongs to you.
No, this nation belongs to all of us.
To you. Belongs to you.
If you're American, that the nation belongs to you. You can't claim to be the great uniter and then tell a certain audience that the nation belongs to them. There is no real America. We are all real America. Except those of you who are not in America.
This is your home. This is your heritage. And our American liberty is your God-given right. From Waco to El Paso, from Houston to Dallas, and from the Red River to the Rio Grande, the people of Texas live and breathe the fierce spirit of independence. You are great, great people. Great people. Pastor. Thank you, Robert. This is the state where William Travis, James Bowie, and Davy Crockett made their last stand at the Alamo. This is the state where a small band of patriots, the Battle of Gonzales. You know all about the Battle of Gonzales.
Do you know about the Battle of Gonzales?
Armed with a single cannon, stared down a foreign enemy and declared, "Come and take it." They said, "Come and take it." And Texas is the state where generations of farmers and ranchers, sheriffs and lawmen, cowboys, cattle hands, prospectors, and pioneers helped build America into the greatest nation in the history of the world. And we're going to bring it back to that level. It's not there now. We're going to bring it back.
Oh, crap. They're going to do the QAnon song thing. I can't. I don't want to get a copyright strike for this, so let's just see how it goes here. So we got to go through this.
Nation that is begging Venezuela and many others for oil.
No, the song's still going in the background. So we got to skip this nonsense. He's almost done. Yeah, still going. He's actually more entertaining to watch this way. Still.
Kill their work and law hours, and then our willpower.
Okay. He's going a while.
With you, they throw. We will.
This is the QAnon song.
And you're.
It's actually it's a sound-alike. It's not the actual song. It's a sound-alike like QAnon, but it's titled something about QAnon. Okay. Oh, now there's another song.
Thank you, Texas. Thank you. God bless you again. We will make America well.
Okay, so they're playing the music all the way through the "We will make America strong, we will make America healthy, we will make America wealthy, we will make America safe, we'll make America great again." Boom! Drop the curtain.
Healthy again.
And then they're going to play another song right
again.
Okay, so they've got a soundtrack. That's nice. Makes things a little more exciting. You can see how excited everybody is here. Just the joy on their faces. Just look at this ray of sunshine coming up here. She's having the time of her life. Never been more excited. This guy, that's intensity is what that is. It looks like stark boredom. You guys can't see it. But trust me, that half of his face, it's matched only by the other side of his face with exactly that same blank expression. This guy right here, he wants more. He's back there screaming, "Don't stop, Mr. President!" So he's really, really got everybody. Do I think Joe Biden's a better president? Of course, a much, much better president. I'm not a Democrat either.
And
okay, no dance. Oh, there he danced for the crowd in the back. Hold on, we'll turn down the volume here. There we go. So we can watch him dance without volume. Now the volume went back up. I don't know why. Here we go. Volume's off. Jerks off into his face. Does his dance. Who dances like? I mean, he's just weird. He stands weird. He dances weird. Like there's something wrong. His center of gravity is somewhere in the wrong place. Good job, everybody. I'm talking to everybody out there in the chat room. Good job. All right. So I think what happened is one of the broadcasts ended, and then a bunch of mega people came into this broadcast. I don't think we really have 212 people watching. I think someone just shot me a bunch. There's a way to do that on the YouTube. I don't really care. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody. That was Trump in Waco. And again, we learned about the Freedom Cities. I have not been able to find any documentation on what the Freedom Cities are, where the frontier is, and how he's planning on paying for the babies. I don't know what this baby bonus is and where that money's going to come from. Certainly not going to come from the rich. So, which is ironic because he only wants rich people to have babies. Which Bruce Springsteen song is playing? I didn't even catch the song. As soon as I hear music, I said, gotta go. Whack Job in Waco. That is correct. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. And everybody who's watching this delayed, thank you as well. We will do another Trump rally at some point. I want to get back to doing sort of daily things. But that will come with time and lots of icy hot. So kids, be good to yourself, be good to others, and most importantly, be good to me. I'm supposed to end there, but I forgot how to stop the streaming. There it is. Be good